Give me just a second. Hello, my friends. Hey, Jessica, thank you so much. Jessica says, welcome to Basic Support. Very much appreciate that. Hey, Heavenly Star. Heavenly Star says, boo. Heavenly Star, beautiful singing. There we go. Sorry about that. Beautiful singing. So tonight's going to be a little different. It's Friday. We normally sing. Hey, Magiza. How are you, my friend? Hey, Jessica, are you in here with us? So it's Friday. We normally do some singing, right? But tonight, Heavenly Star says, your turn to sing, Yogi Bear. Tonight we have a special guest, Heavenly Star. Our friend Magiza is coming up, and he's right up above there, and he is going to share his story. And this is a story. Magiza's been coming up. How long have you been popping into the live streams, Magiza? Hey, Sandy. Sandy and Dylan's here, says hi. Hello, my friend. So maybe right at the end of the live stream, we'll throw in a finished song. Hey, Daniel. Daniel says, happy Friday. Hey, everyone. So we'll ask questions when Magiza comes up. Just over a year. And you've, yeah, it's been in all kinds of different states for the times when you've been popping in. Some good days and some not so good days. Heavenly says, Sandy and Dylan. Heavenly Star says, hi. Maybe we'll throw in some breath work too, if Magiza's up for it. So we're going to talk about, it's been a topic that's been coming up quite a bit, is sobriety. Believe it or not, guys, we're all addicted to something. All addiction starts with a thought. Every single addiction that we have, it feels very physical, right? But the physical, that which is in form, always starts with the formless. Hey, Heavenly, are you connected to Magiza? Heavenly says, how are you? So, guys, make sure if you want, come and ask some questions to Magiza when he comes up. Magiza, just let me know when you're ready. I hope we get some people to show up to hear you. We have 3 options for you. Heavenly Star says, I am now. Awesome. Man, I really did enjoy your singing tonight. What shampoo do you use? I mentioned this before. Do I look like I have shampoo money? Special shampoo? You really think that I have special shampoo? I take a bar of soap and I rub it on my head. Shampoo. Like I have that kind of money. What's up, my friend?
Hey,
how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Do you like to be called Magiza or something else?
You can call me Magiza or you can call me Reese.
Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to use your first name, Reese.
Yeah, that's fine.
Great. Yeah, so you've been coming up for, like you said, about a year, maybe over.
Yeah, maybe over a year. Over a year, yeah.
What
been tuning in.
What state of affairs were you in when you first started coming up?
Coming in onto your lives.
Yep.
Like I've been in and out, periods of and then periods of relapsing, periods of sobriety, just all that kind of stuff, really.
How do you want to start? You want to start with your whole story?
Yeah, if that's fine.
Yep.
Yeah. So when I'm ready, yeah.
You're ready?
Okay, yeah. So I'm Reese, and I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, so I hear a lot of people talk in the shares that they knew that they were an alcoholic from the first time they took a drink, but from the ages of say 16 up till about 22, I was more drugs than alcohol. You know, cocaine and things like that. So the alcohol was never really much of a problem. But when I got to about 22, 23, like I'm 30 now. So when I was about that age, that's when things started to change slightly. So what happened for me was I started working with my dad, and at the time my dad were a functioning alcoholic. So on a morning before work, he used to drink cans of beer, before going to work, just to be able to function. And I never really indulged to begin with, but then, I was going to work one morning and I was really hungover, like really badly. And we stopped at the usual garage where my dad would get his cans of beer. And he asked me, he says, "Do you want me to get you 4 cans of beer?" So I thought, what harm could it do? I drunk 4 cans of beer on the way to work. By the time I got to work, I was a little bit drunk. So, I felt better. I was singing and dancing, and I work in construction, so everybody thought it was funny. Nobody really seen it as a problem. But yeah, so I drunk them 4 cans on the way to work, felt better. Then by dinner time, it had wore off, and I started to feel, a bit hungover again. So then I went to the shop, got myself 4 more cans, drunk them, went back to work, same again, felt better. I kept drinking on the way home from work, kept drinking when I got home from work, blacked out that night. And then when I woke up next morning, the first thing I thought was just have 4 cans of beer again and you'll feel better. And that's where it started. And then, it just spiraled out of control so quickly from there. And like, I realized that I'd been drinking for 2 weeks solid, which I'd never done before. And I figured, I need to stop. I've been drinking for 2 weeks now. I really need to stop. And I just stopped. And, I kind of had a bit of a withdrawal from it. Nothing compared to what my withdrawals would eventually what I'd come to get, but it scared me, like really scared me, because I didn't know what were happening. You know what I mean? I thought I was going mental and everything. I were on phone to my mum. I was crying. I was like, I don't know what's going on. Why am I feeling this way? But then I knew then that the next time that I drank, if I just kept drinking for longer periods, then I wouldn't have to go through that. Little did I know, the longer you drunk for, the worse the withdrawals would eventually become.
Right.
So, when I started drinking again, it would just never 1 or 2 days. It would always constantly for a week, every single day, waking up in the morning, drinking before work. And then I realized, so like maybe after a week of drinking, it used to be hard, to drink a can of lager, because we have like pint cans, really big cans of beer. So it's hard to drink. You know what I mean? It seemed to take a while to be able to drink one. So that's when I started to drink vodka, to get that quick fix. And that's when it got worse, because, I'd wake up in the morning before work and I'd drink like a little bottle of vodka. I don't know what you'd call them over there, but I think it's like 35 cent a litre of vodka.
Right.
I'd drink one of them before work, and then, at work I'd drink another. But then I realised when I was drinking vodka that the blackouts became extremely easy. I was having blackouts every time I drank. But then, like, I wouldn't be able to cope with the next day, because, I'd wake up from being blackout drunk and all I could think is like, where have I been? What have I said? What have I done? Because I couldn't remember anything. So my first thought was to just go drink again, to forget
Hey,
about whatever you've done the night before.
Reese, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How did you justify that?
What do you mean?
Well, you obviously thought, um, well, at least I'm showing up to work, or at least able to somewhat have a normal life. There's always a way that we justify our drinking that um, at least it's working for me, until we realize it absolutely is not working for us.
Yeah, well, I justified it, like you say, still getting up and going to work. I didn't see myself as it being a problem, as I want sat on a park bench. I want doing them kind of things. I want homeless. I were earning good money. Family life were good. So it was just normal. I'd seen my dad do it, so it kind of seemed normal to me, do you know what I mean? But yeah, it just spiraled out of control really badly. And then 2018 was the first time that I went to jail. So I crashed my dad's car when I was drunk, and then I ended up going to prison because of it. And I had to do my first sentence in prison was 5 weeks. And before actually going to prison, I was terrified because, I'm a quiet person. I've kind of got that Jekyll and Hyde, polite, nice, sober, and then an absolute nightmare when drunk, as a lot of us tend to have when we're drinking. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I was terrified. I was asking a lot of people from where I live, people that had been to prison, like, what's it like? What's going to happen? And just things like that. And, they were just winding me up, basically telling me not to, drop the soap and things like that. And, I was terrified, Eric, before I went. When I went to court, I drunk when I went to court because, I knew that I was going to go to prison. I knew that they were going to send me. So, I went to court, got drunk before court, but then, I actually went to prison. And I look back now and I think it was the worst thing that they ever did, because I hate to say this, because, I hear a lot of people speak in the shares and they say, my drinking were bad, but at least I never went to prison. And I remember sharing back at a meeting saying, you're probably glad you didn't go to prison. And I really hate to say this, but I enjoyed it. I, I enjoyed it. I know that sounds stupid, but it wasn't what I expected. I had a laugh, you know what I mean? So when I come out of prison, like, it didn't deter me from drinking, because then I think, well, I'll just go back to prison, you know what I mean? And it won't scare me. So
So, what was it you enjoyed about prison?
I was scared of the violence, the bullying, the kind of things you see on television.
Right.
I was scared that's what actually happens. And, it does, but, you know, if you keep your head down, you don't make any trouble, then you don't really tend to get trouble, you know what I mean, come
Right.
towards you and stuff. And, I had a good laugh. I was only there for 5 weeks and I had a really good laugh. But, like, when I came out of prison, like, I went straight back to drinking. It didn't stop me. My drinking got worse, and I got myself sorted for a little bit. I managed to get a flat, get a job. I was doing really well, but then the inevitable happened. I'd black out one night, wake up next day, and just start drinking, morning drinking again. I was constantly in and out of jobs, losing work, getting work, and because when I was normal, I were a good worker. So people would tend to take me on for work because I were a good worker, when sober. But the inevitable happened. I'd start drinking, but then I also, because I'd not, like, when I'd start drinking, I wouldn't go to work then. So then, like, a week later, I'd run out of money, and so then I used to go out and steal alcohol, because I didn't want to stop, because I'd started and I didn't want to go through the withdrawal period, and I knew that if I kept drinking for longer, that's when I wouldn't have to withdraw. So then I started going out and stealing alcohol. I'd go to the supermarket and I'd steal like a little bottle of vodka, and then I'd think, what's point in stealing a little one? If you're going to steal, you might as well steal a big bottle of vodka, something
Right.
to mix it with. So I'd steal a big bottle of vodka, something to mix it with. But then my brain would be like, instead of stealing something to mix it with, just steal 2 bottles of vodka. You know what I mean? And
At
then,
any
like,
at any
sorry.
point, at any point, did you start thinking this is a problem? Did you get to that point yet where you started thinking, man, should I be doing this? Can I keep doing this? Or did it
I
just,
did, but because I was always able to bounce back really quickly. it didn't bother me. You know, I might go on a bender for 2 weeks, like go drinking for 2 or 3 weeks, lose a job, lose everything, but then I'd get back to work, and then I'd get my life sorted. It'd take me a month, and then I'd be doing really well again. So I always thought, well, it don't matter because in 2 weeks you'll be sorted back out. You know what I mean?
Right.
You'll have your life back together. So it didn't deter me. You know, it didn't stop me from it. I did understand, you know, when I was going in supermarkets and stealing alcohol, then I seen, you know, it's obviously a problem, but you know, I didn't expect it to take me where it was going to end up taking me. You know, but then I just got into a routine of constantly in and out of prison because I'd go to a supermarket, I'd nick a big bottle of vodka, and you know, they say, I don't know how people say like drink responsibly. I don't know how you're supposed to drink responsibly because I was just necking a full bottle of vodka. You know, a big massive bottle of vodka. And I just drink all of it straight away, and then you know I'd black out, I'd pass out. Police had come, ambulances had come. You know, because I'd be laid in the middle of the street. You know, blackout drunk, passed out, and I'd end up carrying on with police. You know, I'd get arrested. I'd get arrested for an assault on a police officer, and then I'd end up going back to prison. And I just got into that routine of going to prison. You know, I'd go do 2 months, I'd get fit, I'd read, education, have a laugh, come back out, continue drinking, you know, and I'd be back in prison 2 or 3 days later. And it just became, it didn't bother me
How many
at
times
all.
total were you in prison?
15 times.
Wow.
15 times, yeah. The longest I did was 6 months. But, you know, sometimes I'd do 6 months. I'd get out for 2 days, keep drinking, get out for 2 days, and then I'd be on bus going back. You know, I'd get arrested, and then they'd just send me straight back to prison. And it didn't bother me. I wasn't bothered at all. But, you know, I think on my 13th sentence, I found they had AA in there. You know, I'd heard about AA, but, you know, I'd never really looked too much into it. And then when I were in there, so in prisons in UK, it's called like an inside substance free living wing where people can go on to get clean and get help with recovery and things like that. And I managed to go on there, and then that's where I did my first AA meeting. And I loved it. Do you know?
Lee has a question for you, Lee Lou. He says, Reese,
Yeah.
was your craving the alcohol or the feeling of being drunk?
The feeling, definitely the feeling, yeah. Yeah, definitely the feeling. If anybody else has any questions, Eric, just let me know.
Sure.
I'm more than happy to answer.
Yep. So, guys, any questions for Reese, just let us know. So, your first meeting?
Yeah, so I did my first meeting whilst I was in prison, and I really enjoyed it, you know. And so they'd have somebody come from the outside. They had like somebody that had come in every Thursday, but they'd always bring somebody new in every week, you know, to speak and tell us their story. And you know, I really enjoyed it, and I thought, you know what it is, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna do this. I really liked it in here, so I can go out and I can do it when I get out there. But once I'd get released, I'd forget about everything. You know, all these ideas that I put together whilst I'd been in prison. You know, I'm gonna save for a flat. I'm gonna get healthy. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Every time the gate opened and I'd get released, the old me had just flood back in. I'd leave that part of me in there, and then the old me had flood back in, and it'd be like, right, go to the shop. You've got money. Go get a drink. You know.
You got another question?
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry to interrupt. Our friend Magnetic North Adventures says, Reese, so what was your feeling after the first meeting and relapse?
What was my feeling after the first meeting and then the relapse?
Yep. Did you feel like a failure?
No, I didn't. Because I still had that bounce back ability. You know, prison didn't bother me still. You know, I was gutted. Don't get me wrong. I was really gutted, but you know, it wasn't going back in for long. You know, I think after doing my first meeting and then going back to prison, I think I did a month. So it was like, well, I've got a month to dry out in here. I can go out and then I can do it again. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
But then it finally dropped for me, and I remember I come out on my second, or it was the second to last sentence I did, I came out and I went and got drunk for 4 days, you know, and in them 4 days, I got arrested every single day.
Wow.
And I were literally, and I were literally begging them at the police station to just send me back to prison. But because I was getting arrested for like drunk and disorderly, they wouldn't, you know, they wouldn't remand me and keep me for court. They just kept releasing me, you know, and I keep going out and getting drunk. But
We have a
you know,
question from Becca Bill. She
yeah,
wants to know, have you had any health issues from alcohol? Sorry if that's too personal.
no health issues. Maybe mental health issues, but no physical health issues. I just want to apologize because I'm on a smartphone, so the camera's not the best as well.
It's working great.
Yeah. But yeah, so my second to last prison sentence, when I came out, like I went and got drunk for 4 days. But then I realized, you know, I thought I need to go to these meetings and I need to give them a good try. So I rung the AA helpline and spoke to somebody, and they told me about a meeting that was happening that night, the location and the time. So I thought I'll give it a go. You know, I went to the meeting and I loved it. You know, I fell in love with it as soon as I got there. You know, I love people's shares and things like that. So I thought, right, this is me now. I'm gonna do this right this time. You know, I would go into the meetings, and then, you know, I was going to a meeting every single day. And then I finally, like a couple of weeks after getting out of prison and going to meetings, I went back to work, and then I went back to gym. But then my meetings went from 1 a day to 5 a day to 3 a day. Sorry, not a day. Sorry, you know, a week. Yeah, sorry, a week. So every day for a week, and then 5 times a week, and then 3 times a week, because I started to choose work over a meeting. I choose to work late, or I choose the gym instead of going to a meeting. So, you know, my meetings dwindled, and I liked it more for the fact that I'd meet up with people and go for coffee and go for food and things like that. Because through my drinking career, when I were at my worst, you know, I lost all my friends, I lost a lot of my family, so I didn't really have many people. So I liked that camaraderie of going for coffees and going for food, you know, having friends. And then it'd get to having to do the meeting, and I'd be like, now I've got to sit through this, you know what I mean? But I managed to stay clean for 6 months. I just got my 6-month chip. You know, everything had turned around in my life. I was saving money for a mortgage. I was starting my driving lessons. You know, I was doing really well. My physical health was well. My mental health was really well. You know, I just got my 6-month chip. Didn't think anything bad could happen. A week after getting my chip, my dad died.
Oh, wow.
You know,
I'm sorry.
yeah, my dad died of alcoholism as well. My dad was an alcoholic. So that set me back then. That set me back, and you know, I relapsed quite hard. I nearly went back to prison, but the judge took leniency on me because of you know, the death of my dad. So after that, you know, I managed to sort myself out for a bit more. Then I'd relapse, then I'd sort myself out, and then relapse, and I just went through a period of doing that. But then I managed to get myself a good bit of sobriety. You know, I went back to meetings, not intensely as much as what I should have done, but I started going back to the meetings, back to work. You know, I was earning good money at work. I got myself a nice little flat in the town centre, or an apartment in the town centre. Going to the gym once again, doing really well. I relapsed over something really stupid, something to do with a girl. Relapsed, and I lost everything. You know, all the hard work I'd done for the 4 months. You know, not even just the flat and the stuff, but the sobriety. You know, I'd worked really hard, and within 10 days, I'd lost everything, back to nothing. So at the time, I'd been going to like a recovery place, and I'd been having like one-to-one sessions with a counsellor there. So anyway, I've gone to the place and I've told the counsellor, you know, look, I've relapsed. You know, she says, look, we've got this program starting. So it was called Dayab. It were kind of like rehab, but it were like 9 till 3, Monday till Friday. And then, you know, you got to go home at the end of the day, you know, because in rehab, I think you have to stay for the duration of it, don't you? You know, like a proper rehab. But anyway, I've gone there, and you know, first thing they said to me were like, no relationships. So I says, well, my worker come up to me, he's like, look, no relationships whilst you're in here. So I'm like, I'm not here for a relationship. What type of relationship am I going to get whilst I'm in here? Anyway, don't I go and fall in love with the first pretty girl that I seen there? Ended up getting into a relationship whilst I were in there because I thought we're normal. I thought I were ready to have a relationship, but it was such a weird, complex, intense. We were two addicts, both in recovery. It were doomed from the beginning, but we both thought we were normal compared to everyone else. You know what I mean? But I managed to. We were in a relationship for 3 months. We split up, and I relapsed because of it. I don't blame anyone for relapsing. I'm the person that picks up the bottle, but I ended up relapsing because of it, and then went back to work again, sorted myself out, and then I had a court case in a different part of the city. So anyway, I've gone to it. I'd gone back to AA, and I was doing the steps. I had a sponsor, and everything going all right, and I had this court case in another part of the city, and my sponsor wanted to come with me, but I said no, I'll be all right. A couple of the people from the fellowship wanted to come with me, but I told them, I said, look, I'll be all right. I'll go on my own. I'll see you tonight at a meeting. So I've gone to this different part of the UK to go to my court date. I've got there. When I was there, I was sober. I got there for morning court. I was supposed to be there. Well, I got there for 8:30 morning, sorry. And I wasn't supposed to be there till 2 in the afternoon. So anyway, I've spoke to my solicitor, and he's basically, my solicitor told me, he says, look, there's a good chance you're going to go to prison today, because I was already on a suspended sentence. So he says, look, I was telling him I had all these things in place, like work letters and rehab work and sponsor letter and all these things. And he's like, look, you committed an offence on a suspended sentence, you're most likely going to go to prison. He says, look, go get some food and don't do anything stupid. So then I'm alone. I'm in this different city. I've got 4 hours to kill. I've got all these resentments to my ex. I've got anxiety for, because I'm going to probably go to prison. So I did the stupid thing that we all do. And I thought, I'll just have one little bottle of vodka, because we can have one, can't we? We can have one and leave it there.
Right.
Anyway, 4 bottles of vodka later, I've turned back up to court, blackout drunk. Don't remember a thing. Apparently, I've walked in somebody else's court case whilst it was going on. I had singing Kendrick Lamar, Humble, of all songs, on my headphones as loud as I could. The judges told me to get out. I've given middle finger, got arrested outside court. Woke up next day, got released, kept drinking, got arrested again, got released, kept drinking, got arrested again, and the inevitable happened, and I went back to prison.
How long?
10 week this time. 10 week, yeah. But the worst thing is, like every other prison sentence, like I've said, it's never bothered me. I've gone there, I've got, worked on my exercise and read a load of books, and it's never bothered me. But this last prison sentence really, really affected me. Like, I've never been so depressed in my entire life. Sometimes I'd wake up on a morning and I wouldn't even want to get up. I'd think when they let me out 40 yard, I'm just going to kick my door shut. I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to eat today. I'm not going to do anything. And it was a really hard sentence. Like a real struggle. Do you know what I mean? Like, a week before being released, I didn't even know where I was going to be living. I'd not had no contact with family because I'd fell out with family before because I was drinking. So, I was in a bad way. But, I got through the 10 week, and then, I only got out 2 weeks ago. But yeah, since getting out, they managed to get me a little flat, and, I've gone back to my meetings. I've started doing my step work. There's been a few stressful times since coming out. A lot of things have happened since coming out. Like, I ended up, I seen my ex-girlfriend, so that brought up a lot of resentments again and a lot of stupid things in my mind. Then, I don't know if you've ever seen an alcohol tag, what people have. I don't know if you have them over there.
I haven't heard of it.
So it's like a tag that goes around your ankle, and it,
Yep. I know.
Yeah, and it knows if you've been drinking. So I was supposed to have one of them. Well, I've got one fitted, and when I come out of prison on the Thursday, I sat in my flat all night, and nobody came and fit it. So then, the next day, I spoke to the tag people and just told them, asked them if anyone's coming tonight because I needed to get to a meeting. And they checked me out on system, and they're like, you're not on a system, so they're not going to come tonight. So go to your meeting. But I was like, look, are you sure? Because I don't want to end up getting recalled to prison for missing.
Right.
Missing the tag being put on. And they're like, no, you're fine. Go to your meeting. Anyway, the next day, I rung them again to find out when my tag were going to come. They says, we had your date of birth wrong on system. Somebody came twice last night, but you weren't in. So then I'm like, I'm going to end up getting recalled to prison now. It's not my fault. I was told they weren't going to come. Usually something like that had made me go back to drink, and seeing my ex-girlfriend had made me go back to drink, and being in a new area where I don't know anyone, that had made me go back to drink. But instead of picking up the bottle, I just picked up the phone and just rung people
Do you have
for fellowship.
Do you have a sponsor?
I do, yeah.
Good.
I rung my sponsor numerous times. I rung people in the rooms. I'd be on phone to somebody for 40 minutes.
Our
I'd put
friend
the phone
Lulu
down to them.
has a question for you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Says, Reese, do you think there's a different levels and categories of addiction? For example, a lonely widow who isolates and drinks no bother to anyone, as opposed to a violent drunk who may do what's necessary.
Sorry, Eric. Can you say that again?
Yep. Do you think there's different levels and categories of addiction? For example, a lonely widow who isolates and drinks, she's no bother to anyone, compared to someone as opposed to a violent drunk who may do what's necessary.
I don't know, really. I don't know, like a different level of addiction.
My thoughts
Do
is
they mean?
an addiction is an addiction,
Yeah,
and the outer circumstances don't really matter.
yeah.
That someone who is quiet and drunk is just a quiet drunk. Someone who is loud and violent is just a loud and violent drunk. But the addiction itself remains the same.
Well, it's that Jekyll and Hyde though that we talk about in it.
Right.
People are lovely when they're sober, but give somebody a drink and they're a nightmare. As we've all witnessed, we've all seen, and a lot of us have probably done ourselves. But yeah, so instead of picking the bottle up, which I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to go and have that one bottle what we all think we can have, but I just picked up the phone, just rung everybody, and things have started to slowly start to go my way a bit. I got my tag fitted, and I've actually done my step work. I did my step 4 the other day. I did 4, 5, 6, and 7. I went to my sponsor's house. I was there for like 7 hours. Just got through it all. But
Have you done any of the other times? Have you gotten that far into the steps?
never. This is the first time. So before going to prison, I did my step 1, 2, and 3. And then whilst I was in prison, I tried to do my step 4, but I didn't have regular contact. There were no meetings where I was or anything like that. So, it was a struggle because I was locked in a room for 22 hours a day on my own with my own thoughts, and I'm trying to do my step 4, and I'm trying to bring up all these things, and it were a struggle. So my sponsor basically told me to just write a list of people that I'm resentful at and a list of my fears, and then we just took it from there.
The 12 steps work, but you know what they say: for the program to work, you have to work the program.
Yeah. And it's something I'd never done, Eric. Like I say, when I first come into AA, I was just the man that turned up to meetings. I didn't have a sponsor. I didn't work the steps. I just thought I could go to a meeting every day or 3 times a week and I'd be fixed, and then maybe get 4 or 5 months of sobriety, think I might be all right, and then pick up a bottle, but then I'd just pick up from where I left off last time.
I remember your relapses because you would pop in and you would say, I relapsed. And the answer was always the same. Start again.
Yeah.
And does it feel different for you right now?
It does, yeah. I feel a lot peaceful. feel really peaceful at the moment. You know, when I came out, like the anxiety was terrible. Do you know what I mean? Really badly, but because I've realised one thing I'd never done as well, Eric, is like I've never reached out to anyone. You know, I had one friend in AA, and I'd just build everything up in my mind, and then I'd just unload it to him. You know what I mean? Or the only time I'd reach out is when I'd pick the bottle up. I'd have a drink, and then I'd phone people, and I'd be like, "Oh, I've had a drink," and things like that. But this time, you know, because I always used to think, you know, them people don't want to hear about my problems. They've got their own lives going on. Why do they want to listen to me talk about my ex-girlfriend or me talk about this? But people do because it helps them as well, you know, and I didn't realize that. And they tell me, you know, this also helps me as much as it's helping you. This helps me. So,
Right.
but, you know, I've got so much support in place, and I don't want to, when you finally realize that it's time to make a change because, you know, I'm 30-year-old now. I don't want to be that 40-year-old looking in a prison mirror again, thinking next time I'll do it.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
thinking of
I've
your
got,
father as well.
of course, yeah. You know, a
How
lot of people thought that might have deterred me and stopped me from drinking, but it didn't. It didn't. Nothing stopped me. You know, the smallest thing had happened, and I'd pick up a drink.
Two things. Our friend Lee had to leave, but he said, I have to go now. But Reese, respect, mate. Thanks for having this chat with us. And our friend Tiger King said, um, let's see. Sorry, I lost it. I'm going to see if I can find it. Oh, this is not a question, but can you tell him, please, Eric? I am so proud of him. What he's done tonight, coming on, telling his story. He should feel so proud. And at the end of the day, I got an addiction, and you know what? It takes a real man to come on live, and he should be proud of himself.
Thank you so much. That really means a lot. That really means, and if it helps anybody as well, you know what I mean? It helps others because, you know, sometimes you think you're the only person in the world that's going through it. You know, you think you're the only person, but that's what really helps with the rooms. Like, you know, it wasn't a contest when you go into the rooms to see who's done the most stupid things drunk, but you know, you'd think some of the things that you do drunk, you'd think that you were the only person in the world that's done them. And then you go to an AA meeting and you're like, I'm pretty normal compared to some people in here. Do you know what I mean? You
Right.
know, but it's just the support in AA, and you know, it's just finally dropped for me. That's like coming out. So what I'd normally do, Eric, is like I'd do my little bit of stint in prison, and then I'd come out. I'd go back to my mum's. I'd go straight back to work. You know, and I'd just continue that cycle all the time. You know, start feeling better, start looking better. You know, working harder, working longer, declining on meetings, and that was my cycle every time. But I broke that cycle. Like I've come out. I haven't gone back to my mother's. I'm in a flat of my own. You know, it's a new area, but it is what it is. I haven't gone straight back to work as well. You know, and that's a big thing. Like work used to be like a really big thing for me. I needed to work. I mean, I understand we need money and stuff. I'm surviving at the moment, and
Right.
I'm putting my recovery first.
Heavenly Star says, McGee's, you're awesome and a rock star. You never gave up on faith, and you have a good heart.
Thank you so much. Honestly, it really means a lot. That
So you know, one day you'll be a sponsor.
I know.
You'll be guiding someone.
Yeah.
Have you ever
So
thought?
what?
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Eric. No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was thinking of a unique opportunity that you might have on uh, YouTube as a support area, if you ever wanted to,
Yeah, man.
because several people
Yeah, man.
asked if you have a channel that they could visit.
I do, but I've never really posted videos on YouTube before. You know, I don't think I've ever posted a video, but it's something I would like to do.
You know, you got built-in support right here
Yeah,
as well. You got built-in accountability group. You know, you
yeah,
have popped in here. You know, the past year when you've had the relapses, and we're always here for you, no matter what.
yeah. So what I've tried to do as well is so in prison, like I don't know if there's a lot of people from the UK on the stream or if a lot of people from America and things, but so like I said, in prisons in the UK, they always have like a inside substance-free living wing, which is like I said, it's like the recovery wing where you can get the most support. But in some places, they have that same wing, but it's hard to get on it because you get more benefits. You get like a bigger television, you get more channels on your TV, you get more time out your cell. So a lot of people just try to get on them places even when they don't need it, just to reap the benefits. And then there's always a waiting list, for people that really need it. And there's no meetings, in a lot of these places, there's no meetings, there's not much support. Like the drug and alcohol team will come and see you, but they'll bring you booklets to fill out. And majority of the time, because they're so overworked and understaffed, they don't come back and see you. You know what I mean? They tend to not come back and see you because they've got so many people. There's 1,200 prisoners, and majority of people in there are in for addiction. So they're dealing with so many people. So whilst on my last sentence, I could ring the Alcoholics Anonymous the Alcoholics Anonymous number. I could ring it for free from my phone in my cell, and the Narcotics Anonymous number.
Right.
But the Alcoholics Anonymous number, they generally just give you nearest meeting. I'd explain my situation to them. I'd be like, look, I'm in prison. There's no meetings. There's not much support. I'm trying to kind of use this as a meeting. And they'd be like, we can't really speak much because, there's other people who are trying to call and, we need to give them meetings and stuff. So, the Narcotics Anonymous number, they generally give you 10, 15 minutes to chat, which were good because I used it as a bit of a meeting just to get out how I was feeling and, talking to somebody that understood. So then when I come out, I've been doing a bit of service in AA, there's a tent up in Leeds, in where I'm from, and they've got like booklets and pamphlets and things like that. So I've been going down there, and like people can come up and talk, and a lot of people come up and talk about, I think my husband's an alcoholic, I think my brother is, and just have a general chat. And I was talking about the situation I was in prison with the no and things, and the AA helpline. But I managed to get in touch with like a prison liaisons officer. It's somebody in the fellowship who actually goes into prisons and does meetings. And I says, there should be pardon me, there should be a number put forward what people in prisons can ring and be able to chat for like 20, 25 minutes, to share the story. Because a lot of people in prison, they don't have family, they don't have no contact with the outside world. They don't have money being sent in because, like in the UK, we get like a canteen sheet, and that's where we order. I think you call it commissary.
Right.
Yeah. So we can order like phone credit, but things are dear, and if you don't get money sent in and you don't have a job, then you tend to have to live on like £2 a week. I mean, you get your food and things like that, but people smoke and things like that. So people struggle to have contact with the outside world, and with the no meetings in there, and just a number what people can ring and just be able to chat, like talk about their alcoholism and just things like that. So I kind of put that forward. I made a bit of a pitch for it, and then I'm just waiting to hear back and see what can be done about it. But I just thought it'd be nice, just I shared my experience and the struggle I had with no meetings and none of this, and they said it's a really good idea. So I'm just hoping to be able to get something put in place for that.
Nice. It strikes me that although you committed some crimes, you weren't a criminal, and
just an alcoholic.
That had you been treated like an alcoholic, had you been put into a very strict, you can't leave rehab.
If you can still, sorry, it just crashed for a minute then.
Had you been treated not like a criminal, but like an alcoholic, someone with a disease who needed to be put into a rehab, a very strict rehab, things would have been different for you the very first time.
Definitely. And this is what I've always said as well, because majority of people in the UK in prisons are in there for addiction, and instead of just sending them to prison, I've always figured they should send them to rehab first. They should say, look, right, instead of sending you to prison, we're going to give you a suspended sentence and we're going to send you to this rehab place. If you don't complete this rehab place, then you go to prison. And I think so many people would benefit from that because, like, especially with COVID, after COVID times, like prison changed so much. Like during COVID times, we were getting like 30 minutes for exercise and 15 minutes for a shower, and the rest of it, we were just behind his door. And it's not changed much. When I were in prison, I'd get let out at 9 a.m. That would be 1 hour in yard, and then would get an hour to have like a shower and kind of do what we needed to do. And then from 11 a.m. till the next day, then that were it. Just locked in myself. Nobody to talk to and stuff like that.
Blue Moon Tiger King wants me to extend to you. He says, tell this guy this for me, please. That man has inspired me so much tonight. I want to speak about my addiction, but I'm not at that stage yet to do this. But can you tell him that that's what he's done?
Thank you so much. But you will be in a position at one point to talk about your addiction, and you'll help so many other people as well just by talking about it. And you're not alone. You're not alone. There's people out there that understand.
Adam, a friend, Percolated Fish, says he's been listening, and that sounds like a great ministry. And that's something I want to ask you about in a minute. Becca Booth says, can you get alcohol in prison?
You can, but it is quite hard because it really smells. It really smells. So the prison officers generally know when they open your door. They can smell it. But it is available, but it's more drugs that are easily available in prison.
That's what Sniper was alluding to. That there's worse stuff.
There's worse stuff, yeah. So there's like, so it's called Spice, and I think it's kind of like, what's it called in America? What people smoke? Is it K2?
Yeah.
Is it somewhat like it's like a psychoactive kind of substance?
Right.
What they smoke. That's kind of what it is in UK.
Thank you, Super Champ. I'm taking my sleep supplements, melatonin. So what I want to ask you, pardon me, is there in your recovery, is there room for any kind of spirituality? Are you, Wayne Dyer, famous writer, said when he quit drinking, he became a camel, and a camel is someone who starts their day in the morning on their knees, ends their day on their knees, and can go 24 hours without a drink. So you start your day in prayer, some kind of silent contemplation, meditation, prayer. You end your day in prayer. And so you have something in place, some type of meditation practice or prayer work or...
Yeah, so whilst I were in there, I had the perfect opportunity to meditate and do breathing exercises, and I didn't. I never did it whilst I were in there and it's strange, like I'm breathing anyway, so do a breathing exercise, or I'm overthinking anyway, so just close your eyes and meditate and everything. But I just didn't, even though I were alone with my thoughts, I didn't want to close my eyes and be alone with my thoughts. But when I've come out, I have, like I wake up every morning and I do my step 3 prayer, I do my step 7 prayer, I journal. I never journaled before because I just thought, well, it's all in my mind anyway, so what's the point writing it down?
Right.
Started journaling and then meditation just for 10 minutes, just 10-minute meditation, and it really sets for my day. And it's so strange. Like 2 days ago, I forgot to do my step 3 prayer, and I had the worst day ever. I had such a really crappy anxiety-filled day compared to when I actually do my prayers and stuff. But I have,
these are game changers.
Yeah.
That you're doing. Here's what I always tell about the 12 steps really have nothing to do with AA. Meetings are great, but the 12 steps are an actual spiritual path.
Yeah.
It's the 12 steps. AA gives you a great support system. People who got your back, and then eventually you have their back. But the 12 steps is something only you can do. No one can take that first step. No one can take that last step. Only you can do it. You're doing step 4 now, you said?
No, I've done it. Yeah, I did my step 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I'm up to step 8, making amends.
Right.
Yeah.
How's that list going?
I haven't started yet, so my sponsor just told me to give it a couple of weeks and then we'll start it.
Right. No
Yeah,
hurry.
yeah.
And the steps really aren't, after you're done, the steps aren't linear. You can always revisit any step.
Well, this is what somebody said. Somebody said that, you can always, you're still gonna have resentments and you're still gonna have a lot of things that are gonna come up, so you can always go back to them and do them again
Right. And
and do
each
your
time
stuff
it
on it.
deepens a little bit. And,
Yeah, yeah.
unfortunately, when you're making your list, every time you go back to it, there's someone you forgot, or there might be a new one.
Yeah,
Sobriety
yeah,
doesn't mean that we're occasionally not a jerk. You know, that's still gonna happen. So uh, we just practice and we practice and we practice. Here's the key word: the 12 steps are practice, and practice means you don't have to be perfect or even very good at it. You just keep
yeah,
practicing every day.
yeah. When I did my step 4, you know, I kind of felt like I cheated my sponsor a bit because, when he gave me my defects, I thought I was going to have a full list of defects, but they weren't as many as what I thought they were. But like I say, my sponsor told me to just write a list of names of people I were resentful at and a list of fears. But when I got there, I didn't have like hundreds of resentments towards people, like people on my resentment list, but he spoke about prisons and probation workers and things like that. And I says, I can't resent them people because I put myself in that position. If I didn't drink, then I wouldn't have been in them positions. So I can't resent probation workers, prison workers,
Oh,
and
right.
judges and things like that. That were my fault.
They were doing their job.
Younger days. What's that, sorry?
They were doing their job.
They were doing the job. If I wasn't a drunk and committed crime, I wouldn't have been there. So I couldn't hold the resentment towards them. And as a child, bullied for being overweight, I don't hold resentments for that. Kids are kids, aren't they? It's
Right.
just what people do. I had a lot of resentment towards family members and old bosses and a few friends and stuff, but I'm not a really resentful person because, I've got myself into a lot of crap situations because of my drink, and I understand why a lot of people were angry with me and things, but when I went over it, I was kind of amazed by how some of these resentments had made me drink, and put me into some of these positions. Because when I started drinking, I couldn't just stop, and a lot of people will understand, I can't just put the bottle down and just leave. I have to keep going until I'm either in hospital, in prison, or I'm physically too ill to drink. I can't leave house, you know. I know a lot of people will understand that. A lot of people say, well, why don't, and I love when people say, well, if you've got a problem with it, why don't you just stop? It's like, well, if I could, I would, but it's a struggle.
Right.
It seems like every time I get a good bit of sobriety behind me, something happens that, I don't, a couple of times I might have been sober for a month and I'd wake up and there'd be nothing wrong with me. And I'd think, I'm just going to go get drunk today, and I couldn't stop myself. My mind would be like, this is a bad idea, but my body would be like, let's just go. And I'd be walking to the shop and I'd be like, it'll be different this time, but it never is.
Here's some of the things though that you have going for your favor. Every time you sit down and um, you say your prayer, every single time, every time you
Yeah,
do a 10-minute meditation, you're creating a new neurological pathway that gives you an option that you didn't have before. Now you have options. Before you didn't have options. You were
yeah,
either
yeah,
you were either going to drink or you were waiting for the opportunity to go and drink
yeah, yeah,
without even realizing it. But now you're aware
yeah,
and you see where
yeah,
those
yeah.
thoughts are going, and you don't have to go down that route anymore.
No, no. I've got so many things in place. I've got so much support, but sometimes I found people a little bit intrusive. in the rooms. That's why I kind of, yeah. That's why I've always been the type of person to try get through things on his own. You know, my dad dying, just try to get through it, try to block it out, get through it on my own. Anything like where I could have taken the support. I've always been the type of person to think, well, if you can't get through it on your own, then when are you ever going to get through anything through your own on life? But I've realised, if there's all I can take from this last prison sentence is take support when it's there. People aren't being intrusive. People have been in your position. People are there to help. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
See, I'm just checking to see if we have questions. Nothing that I see, but I do see you have inspired a whole lot of people.
that's really good. That's really nice. That's why I did it. That's why I wanted to do it.
I've been asking you for a bit. I'm glad that you're ready. I'm glad you're in the position where you are now, where you feel that now's the time to help people.
It finally there comes a time. There comes a time when you realize that you're never going to be able to drink normally again. And that doesn't scare me like a lot of people talk in the rooms, like they were terrified when they realised that I could never drink again. And I think we get terrified by that because, a lot of things are going to happen in this life. Good things are going to happen, bad things are going to happen, and terrible things are going to happen. And I think it scares us because we've been not used to picking the bottle back up when the bad things and the terrible things happen. And even when the good things have happened, we've been used to picking the bottle back up.
Right.
But I think it scares us to know that we can never do that again.
Sniper says, Reese, it will get to the point where you won't even remember the drink's name.
Yeah.
Sniper's been sober for 27 years.
Really, yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah. 26.
It's congratulations.
For me, I've mentioned quite a bit. I was given the gift of sobriety because I never tried.
Yeah.
I was drinking to erase myself. So why would I quit? Why would I quit? If my mission was to destroy myself, quitting would defeat the mission. But inadvertently, I was doing what I mentioned to you. I had started meditating very seriously. I started practicing A Course in Miracles very seriously, not with the intent of quitting drinking, but to help with some other issues. And I was just drawn to it. But I was creating those neurological pathways that I wasn't even aware of. And one day, I didn't even have that much to drink compared to what I normally drink. And I drank every night. Off-duty state trooper saw me swerve just a little bit, just enough that he thought, I could let this guy go, but probably not a good idea. And he decided to pull me over less than a mile from my house. I think maybe Reese might have froze. Did we lose you, Reese? So I think our friend Reese might have froze. Yep. Sorry, guys, we lost Reese. Let's talk for about 10 more minutes. You guys heard my story before, so I won't finish it. Stephen says, Reese is challenging for Freeze Troll 2025. He's doing a pretty good job, isn't he? So, yep, guys, when we have a guest up, the questions will be mainly to support the guest. It takes a lot. As Tiger King was mentioning, he wants to come up and share his story. He's not quite ready, he said, but it takes a whole lot. One, to even do what Tiger King said, that he even said about his addiction here. eventually, when he's ready, he'll share what he needs to share, what he would like to share. Hey, Song of Hand. Super Champ says that's a perfect job. It is a perfect job. You know what? What's not fair? Look how good Reese looks in his Frozen. When I'm frozen, I got one finger in my nose, I'm making a funny face. My eyes are crooked. My glasses are all over the place. My hair is out of order, and yet Magiza freezes. Every hair is in place. It's just not fair, guys. The Moon Tiger King says, because that man tonight, what he did tonight. Tiger King, that makes me feel so good because that was the intent. And that's the entirety of my channel. This is why Squirrel Sniper comes up on Tuesday nights. Not just to share stories, he does because he has fascinating stories, and all of his stories are designed to help someone. But he has so much to offer. So if one person in a chat with Squirrel Sniper says, you know what, I'm inspired, I want to try dowsing. I want to do this, I want to do that. And they do something in their life that opens up a whole new avenue of exploration. Skit says, you know what's really not fair? Yogi, what's that, Skits? I'm almost afraid to ask. When Miss Flipper comes on and we dive into what for me feels like an endless talk in a good way of A Course in Miracles, things just Adam's going to be coming up more often. I'm always inspired with Adam. We will get when she wants, only when she wants, we'll get Cat and Jack up. I think we got Migiza back up in just a second. We'll wrap it up and give him a chance to say goodbye. You there? That's okay. You know, we were talking about you when you froze because it wasn't fair. When I freeze all the time, and when I freeze, I'm in the most awkward position imaginable. Like I said, it's like I got a finger in my nose and my eyes are crossed, my glasses are all over the place. When you froze, every hair was perfectly in place. It was like you were doing a model headshot. You were like totally unfair.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know what happened on my phone, but sorry, where did we leave off?
We were talking about. I was talking about how my own practice, meditation, prayer, breath work, yoga, put in place those neurological pathways. So when I was pulled over, as soon as I saw that light flash, I was given a choice, and I remember clearly thinking, if I want to, I never have to drink again. And when the police officer said, roll down your window, and he goes, sir, have you been drinking? And I said, yes, but I'm never going to drink again. Later on, when I was released out of the holding cell, he waited, gave me a ride home. And he said, I don't do this. Never done it before, but I believe you. I believe that you're never going to drink again. And I just want you to know that I believe you. So if you have any doubts, about ever drinking again, just know one person from day one believed that you never have to take a drink again. So, Reese, you never have to take another drink again.
I don't, and I never will, because I know where it leads me. I know where I'll go back to. You know, it'll never get better. It'll never be different. It'll just be the same scenario every time. Prison, hospital, you know, institutions, prisons, death. Eric, you know, the amount of times I've nearly been run over, you know, falling, you know, I've got a big scar on my arm where I fell onto a mirror, you know, nearly bled out, and, you know, things should have deterred me a while ago to not drink, but we think that the next time we pick up, it's going to be different. This time that we can do it, but we can't, and we never will.
It's never going to be different.
Never. It's never. And I understand this now, and I've learned the hard way every time.
And when you froze for a few minutes, like I said, everyone just said how important it was for you to come up and share your story.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that.
We're going to wrap things up in a few minutes, but whenever you want to come up, and feel free to use this if you need a place to vent, if you need a place to, guys. This has been, think of this as a meeting as well. If you want,
Yeah.
you got a
Yeah.
place that filled with people who will do nothing but support you.
Thank you. And if there's one positive I can take out of the negative of my last sentence is I learned to play chess, and I really like playing chess.
Hey, Sniper, do you play?
So I can take one positive.
I think Sniper plays chess. Sniper, you play chess, right?
Yeah.
You can get an online match going.
Yeah. Well, I think I downloaded the app chess.com, I think it is, but I really enjoy playing chess because I just see it as life. You just got to keep moving, thinking 2 moves ahead, 3 moves ahead.
So our friend Blue Moon Tiger King says, does he have a channel? Wants me to ask you. So if you want to mention again.
Yeah, I don't know what my channel's called on here because I never post anything or all. Do you know what I mean? I've just used it to follow people and stuff. But I think and I've watched a lot of people's channels when they're sharing about the sobriety and sharing the stories of the withdrawals and the places it took them. And I've always wanted to maybe do it. Do you know what I mean? Because people benefit, and it's nice to talk about it myself.
Sure. I could see you making
yeah.
shorts, just offering, your insights, your thoughts, videos. I could see you doing live streams. And Squirrel Sniper mentioned early in the conversation, we'll all pitch in and help you with your channel. We'll get you subscribers.
Yeah.
Hey, you've been a big support for me. I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming here all through the year, whenever you had the opportunity, and that you trusted me on your journey to sobriety.
Yeah. Thank you for being there as well, because I've always come back, as we do when we go back to the rooms. Every time I've withdrawn and gone back to the rooms with my tail between my legs and telling my stories, kind of how I've done it with you. I've always come back with my tail between my legs. I've relapsed again, but I'm sorting myself out again. But you've always been there, so thank you. And you've always been nice to listen. Do you know what I mean?
Sniper says, Reese, pop in the chat before Eric presses the X and leave a comment. That way people can see your channel. And they
I will do. I will. But yeah, I just want to say thank you for letting me come on and share my story. And I really hope that it's helped people as well. But thank you so much.
You're welcome, my friend. And I can tell you off the bat already that it has. And it's just going to keep getting that way.
Yeah, I see a comment from Blue Moon Tiger saying, "Is he in jail now?" I'm not. No, I've just got a white wall.
All right. I think that's it.
Yeah. Right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Right. I don't know how to do this. Do I have to leave, or will it just go off?
Yep. There'll be a little X somewhere on your screen.
Yeah. But thank you so much. Yeah, and thank you to everybody for listening.
Yep. And like I said, come back up.
I will. See you later.
Take care.
Bye.
Guys, we're going to wrap things up too. That was our friend Reese Magiva. And man, what an awesome conversation. Guys, thank you so much for your support for Reese, for me, for this conversation. Thanks for coming in, Mike. Hey, I had to make sure that I am subscribed to Dirk. We got you, Dirk. Welcome. So, guys, any questions about the conversation before we go? Blessings to you, Dirk. We will be talking more about sobriety. We're going to be talking more about a whole lot of stuff. But our friend Allison, she's coming up tomorrow afternoon. She's going to tell her story, and she has given me some. She's given me a few things. It says, "Yeah, I have." Did you shush me? I did. I did. No one needs to know about my pea protein, Skits. That's between me and the pea gods. I sh- I did. I didn't shush you as in be quiet. More like don't give away my secret. Skits. I have secrets only you know. I entrusted you with my pea protein secret. Becca says I'm going to check once I've said goodnight to Yogi and everyone. Tiger King. Magiza says, thank you, Eric, and thank you all for the support. Guys, make sure you reach out and subscribe to Magiza. When he is ready to expand his channel, he'll have a built in audience. We'll be there for him. Mike says, sorry, I missed you live. That's okay, Mike. I appreciate you just stopping in and saying hi, my friend. Guys, MVP Fishing is one of my favorite fishing channels. There's a list. I love all of them. There's a list at my top. Bob, Maddie, Mike, Skeeter. But again, I love all of them. Did I miss anything? Mike says, I got into something here I did not understand there. The best thing to do is don't pay it any mind. If you find yourself in a mess, it's a smile MVP. Thank you, Kat. It was a nice chat. Danny says, Kat, nice to see you. Kat says, Danny, wait to throw me under the bus. Mike says, he was just saying hi. Did Danny throw you under the bus? Oh, there you go. Dan, Kat was live when I was live. That's it. That's it. And Danny, you chose Kat over me. Man, it hurts. Did you hear that sound? The sound of my heart breaking just a little bit. If you listen real close, go back and replay it, and you can hear it over and over again. The one moment where my heart broke. I actually knew Kat was already live. Kat says, "Don't go looking, Yogi." No, I saw it. Kat says, "Yogi, I have two words." Let's see. You're handsome. That's two words. You're handsome. You're awesome. That's another two words. Slipper says, "Kat, I'll lend you one more." Skit says, "Tut tut, Danny. Why do you have to tell me, bro? I'm not impressed. I had to put up with Yogi this whole time." He says, with so much love. Cat says, baby cows. All right, I can understand people choosing baby cows over me. The moon says, oh my God, the way he smiled. Talk about cat love in the air, Eric. You think so? Maybe it was baby cow love after all. All this time, I might have been using cat for my own selfish needs of baby cows. What did I miss from our friend Dirk? Skits send some love. I feel like I owe Skits an apology now for putting up with me. Skits, baby snake. We're gonna ignore that comment. Cat says, "Oh my God, Skits." Oh, Tiger King was looking for Reese's comment. Got you. Got you. All right, let's end tonight's conversation on a high note. And here's a high note. Skits says, "Smile, everyone." Thank you, Skits. So here's the thing. I mentioned this before. We're going to limit our grievances. Everyone's got one, right? You can have as many grievances as you want, but we're not going to spend conversations airing our grievances against others. If you think someone has done something to you into a live stream, think again. They probably didn't. They probably did not. Don't take anything personally. If we continuously taking something personal, we're going to offer a 10-second timeout. If it doesn't stick, we'll do a little bit longer. If it doesn't stick, it'll be timed out for the duration of the day. It's nothing personal. I don't know any other way to keep the chat flowing. Like, we had an awesome talk tonight. I'd love to keep it that way. I would love every single live stream to be, different topics. I'm bringing in some friends who are very high level meditation teachers. I have one friend who has been teaching meditation for 60 years. He has been sat at the feet of Tibetan masters, Kashmir Shaivism masters. I've reached out to him, been friends with him for quite some time. All kinds of people I'm reaching out to. My friend James Plath, who wrote that book, The Gospel of Astonishment. I want him to come up. Kat says, I can take a time out. That's what you think. That's what you think, Kat. That's because you've yet to experience yogi withdrawal. You'll start getting the shakes. The people who time out are the top mods. And again, it's absolutely nothing personal. The top mods are Lee Lu, Sniper. Sniper is the top mod of the top mods. Here's the thing, Tiger King. Sniper knows exactly how I want these conversations to go, and he supports me. Not only does he support me, he joins in on Tuesday nights. Sniper has his message. Sniper has the things that he would like to impart, and I'd like to support him as a friend. So again, nothing personal. And it never even has to come to that. Just know if you have a grievance, it probably isn't true. And you could probably deal with it. If not deal with it, you could shrug it off. If not shrug it off, you can ignore it for 1 hour. That's a legitimate question. What if Sniper does not like messages time out because he's not like that? And I'll tell you, it's a legitimate question. because you don't know, and I will give you the answer. Thank you, Skits. Good night, everyone. Love always. Love you too, Skits. The answer is that Sniper is. If Sniper doesn't have a problem with you personally, I know. But even if he did, he's a professional. Sniper mods for some really big channels. And he graces me with coming here to do so. To me, it's absolutely amazing that he does that. So, Sniper knows how to mod, and he puts the conversation. Sniper's been showing up to support me. Hey, Dino. Sniper has been showing up to support me. Him and Eric LaPointe longer than anyone. Goldie's up there, but Sniper and Eric LaPointe have been there longer. So they know me, they know the conversation, they know people who come in the chat. So they know. Darren says, can we sing a song before the live stream ends? By we. Do you mean you want to come up and sing a song, Darren? By we, you mean me. Dino says, so what did I miss? We had an awesome talk about sobriety with our friend Reese McGeeva, who is committed on the path. And it was lovely to see. Sniper says beautifully, it's not about who, it's never about who. There will always be someone with discernment. This channel is about forgiveness, learning every day. We are. Every day someone gives us a lesson, don't they? Darren says, I can't sing. Me either. That's a bit of a conundrum. If our friend Superchamp was here, I'd ask him to come up and sing. There he is. All right, Superchamp, come up and sing a song, and then I'm going to say goodnight to everyone. Blue Moon says, Eric, Sniper can't do wrong in your eyes. But let's just say Sniper never has. I don't imagine he ever will, but that's enough for me. All right. Hey, Darren, your wishes come true. We have the superstar, the man with the hat,
Yep.
the deadlift king, the squat master.
Do you really mean that?
I do mean it. I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it.
Thanks. Okay, I'm gonna get a little creative because, again, I don't know any songs. I just make up whatever. There. You are absolutely amazing. That's all I have, sorry.
All right, that's pretty good. Do you have any kind of like dance steps to go along with the song?
I'm not in the mood for that, honestly.
Okay. I would sing a song. I don't know what to sing.
Just
I have
say a
nothing.
compliment in a tell a compliment in a singing voice.
I'm not as talented as you.
You'll never know unless you try.
No, I know. I know. I've been around. I have sung some very bad attempts.
But you didn't try.
Oh, I tried. I tried.
Fair enough.
Let's see. Oh,
Oh,
Tiger King. He wants a hat check. He wants to see the hat. Dino
okay.
wants to make a song request for me or for Super Champ.
Just what I get. Actually, I'll show you where the hat is. Right here on the wall.
It's a nice place of honor.
Yep. There you go.
There you go. Tiger King just for you. So just a suggestion, just a helpful tip. Blue Moon, well, never mind. Never mind. Blue Moon says, have your hat. Name, please. Do you have a name for your hat?
No.
Could you think of one? Does your hat need a name?
The hat doesn't need any name.
Neither do my
It's
cats,
too
by the way.
special. It's too special.
I can understand that. All right. Danny gives you an emoji, gives you a cowboy emoji. Tina says, so no song requests? I thought you said you had one.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Semper says the hat is enough statement. Agreed.
Yes.
It's a very, very slick looking hat. Distinguished. Yeah, I can't think of any songs to sing. I know Heavenly Star wanted me to sing Let It Be by the Beatles, but I'll wait. I'll sing that tomorrow when she's here.
I
But we're going to get that request, see if anyone wants to do it, and then we're going to sign off for the night. Oh, I didn't hear you guys respond, so I thought you just skipped my message.
so sorry, I was being a little shy.
That's okay. You're allowed. Hey, did you listen to our friend Reese and his talk?
A little bit.
What do you think?
What?
What do you think?
I think it's impressive that he can talk about his past mistakes so openly.
Man, one of the most, probably the bravest thing we can ever do is face our own thoughts, face our own mind, face our own addictions, and not go to battle with them, but see through them clearly. It's always easy to battle something because then if you lose, you can say, well, at least I tried. I went to battle something. It's a whole other thing to see them, to be aware of them. I don't know that song, so I'm off the hook. Do you know that song?
Unfortunately, I do.
All right. So let's hear it, and then I'm going to bed.
Well, firstly, I'm not going to embarrass my face singing it, so here's what I'm gonna do. Furthermore, I don't know the exact lyrics, so I'm just gonna do something very quickly. Fuck. Oh, sorry about that. Looks like I can't do what I wanted to do, but that's is only no. Okay, Dean, do it. Goddamn. He's gonna type the lyrics.
You can improvise.
He's gonna type the lyrics. I am cooked.
No, because it won't all fit. It'll be broken up with other people's response, so it really won't work well.
Trust me. I can make it work.
So I'd rather you just go ahead and sing, because I'm getting ready to go to bed. Getting late for me.
Oh,
Hey, Heavenly.
Dean, I love you, bro, but sometimes I hate you, bro. I'm gonna get a little creative. Please do not share this specific clip with anybody.
All right, take it away.
I wanna be your vacuum cleaner, breathing in the dust. I wanna be your Ford Cortina, 'cause I will never rust. If you want your coffee hot, let me be your coffee pot. You call the shot. I just wanna be yours, wanna be yours.
That was good. Very nice job.
I'm sorry, I'm a little embarrassed, as you
No
can
need to be
see.
embarrassed. It was a good song, and you sang it well. Heavenly Song says, bravo. See that? You got a bravo.
Thanks.
Here's the thing about coming up and singing. It's all about just being joyful, having fun, and hoping that you spread a little joy to other people, which you just did. So that means, in my opinion, perfect song, perfect singer. I liked it. I'm impressed. Thank you, Super Champ. That's what makes you a Super Champ in my book. Is you're not afraid to do something that you might think puts you in a little bit of an awkward position if you think it's going to make someone smile. You know what? You're a strong person. You work hard. You're very intelligent. But what makes you a super champ in my book is your heart. You there?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just got a little emotional.
Well, I didn't mean to make you
Well,
emotional,
with
but I mean it. I meant that.
it, it's all right. It's all right. With all that said and done, uh, good night to everyone.
Good night, my friend. All right. We'll do some full time singing tomorrow. Sorry that we didn't do any more tonight, but it was fun the little bit we did. This was a meaningful conversation with me. My own journey through those drinking years. I am lucky to, seriously lucky to be here in so many ways. Um, and to be able to take a moment and share that with Reese, his story, the fact that he inspired people, just, that's why I started my channel. I'd like to keep it going. I do like what I do, but I admit, sometimes I wonder. I talked to someone about this today. You know, am I doing what I set out to do? And sometimes I don't think I am, which makes me sad. And then I confront that sadness, and um, it usually coincides with my own downtimes that I've been going through. Fighting, I often say that I no longer fight my depression. That's not necessarily true, I find. I'm still mainly aware of it. It still doesn't bring me down to my knees the way it used to, but sometimes, sometimes it can be a bit difficult. And I still have my own triggers. All right.
Well, that's totally natural to have doubts, wondering whether or not your efforts will actually pay off. But that's the beauty of the journey, is that you don't always know that you're gonna succeed, but you still try regardless.
Thank you. I appreciate hearing that. Thank you, Heavenly Star. Hey, Blue Moon Tiger King, thank you so much for saying that. Says I'm doing a top job, Eric. You got Heart of Gold. You help everyone. I do my best. I do my best. All right.
Well, you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you, Super Champ. All right, guys. Going to see everyone tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be the official singing day. So this was just practice for you. This was your warm up.
Uh, um, well, yeah, tomorrow I'm actually gonna be in the gym, so no promises.
So what I'm hearing is you'll be all warmed up from your workout to come in and sing all night long. I'd like your attitude, Super Champ. I'd like your attitude. I appreciate it. All right. All right. Blue Moon Tiger King says, give a song before you go, mate. All right, Tiger King, this is for Heavenly Star and for you. I don't know if I can sing it, so I might not sing the whole thing. You're
You
gonna
will
hang out
never
while I
know
sing.
unless you try.
That's what you keep saying. Because you sang, because you were uncomfortable, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And Heavenly Star has requested this. Tiger King asked me to do it, or to do a song. You gonna hang out while I sing this?
Yes,
Then it's gonna,
absolutely.
then it's gonna be a quick goodbye. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hours of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, yeah, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. For though they may be parted, there is still a chance that they will see. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be. Let it be, yeah, let it be. There will be an answer. Let it be. That's it. You never know until you try, Super Champ, right?
That was fantastic.
Thank you, my friend. Let it
And
be.
yes,
No
I
mercy.
stand by that. You will never know unless you try. So always try.
Thank you. I will. Super Champ said, or I'm sorry, Blue Moon Tiger Kings 10 out of 10. Did class act, Eric. Thank you so much, my friend.
Yes.
Sniper says, let it be, no mushy pee. I should have sang that. I should have sang that next time. Thank you, Dolly. All right. Thank you, Dolly, so much. I gotta go. I gotta go to bed.
Yes.
Love you guys. Super Champ, salute. Have a good workout tomorrow.
Thanks.